All right, guys. Part 3 of our series on solving systems of equations. We are getting into solving by substitution. So just so you remember, substitution means to replace, kind of like a substitute teacher replaces your actual teacher when your teacher's at home sick or playing hooky. And so this is where we take what a variable is equal to and we replace that same variable that's in the second equation with what that variable is equal to in the first equation, which sounds kind of weird, but we'll get into it in a second. Okay, so I'm going to set up, these are going to get progressively more difficult. So we'll play with it and everything will be good. So the first one we're going to do is we'll have this system. We'll have 2x minus 3y equals -1. And we'll have y equals x minus 1. And that's our system. Okay, so if I look at this, I know what y is equal to. Y is equal to x minus 1. So what I'm going to do is in the pink equation, I'm going to replace the y with x minus 1. So I'm going to rewrite this over here. I'm going to do 2x minus 3y, except that y is now x minus 1. And that's going to be equal to -1. So I'm hoping that the color coding makes sense here. The green equation is represented right here in this equation, in the pink equation. So I'm trying to keep the two equations separate as I go through. So that's why one's in pink and one's in green. Hope that makes sense. I hope that helps. Some people, I was told by a few great students that was really just a waste of my own time to color code, but I'm hoping like maybe there's one kid out there that really was like, oh, I see it now that it's green and pink. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so to start solving this, I have to basically like simplify this equation down to where I just have x on one side and the variable, x on one side and a single number by itself on the other. So we're going to, the first thing we ought to do is distribute this -3. So when I do that, I'm going to bring this 2x down. -3 times x is -3x. And -3 times -1 is going to be +3, because negative and negative makes positive. And that's going to be equal to -1. Okay, so then I'm going to try to combine like terms. 2x and 3x, or 2x and -3x, will combine. Now, because they're on the same side, I just do straight up 2x minus 3x. I've had a lot of kids try to add 3x to 2x, and you don't want to do that. They're on the same side. So it's just like saying 1 minus 2 or 2 minus 3. It's on the same side, so you're just going to work it. You're not moving it from one side to the other. So when I do this, 2x minus 3x, that's going to leave me with -1x, or just -x. Plus 3 equals -1. Okay, so I have this x plus, and really we can just make this -x. It doesn't have to be -1x. So I need to get the x by itself. Now, when I say that, that's away from the negative as well. So I need the x by itself. So what I'm going to do is, let's get rid of this 3. So +3 cancels with a -3. 3 minus 3 cancels, and I'm left with -x equals -4. Okay, so I want x by itself. I don't want -x. So if this is -x equals -4, then +x is going to equal +4. If I change this side, I got to change this side. If you need a more mathematical reason why that's legal, basically you could multiply this by -1 and multiply this by -1, and they would cancel here, and you would just have x equals 4. But we know if negative x is -4, then positive x is positive 4. It's kind of like a two-way street. Okay, so I have my x value. A lot of kids think they are done at this point, and that's not true. The next thing we have to do, we have x, but we also need to have y. So we're going to take this x value and plug it in and solve for y. So I have y equals, instead of x, we're going to plug in 4. And we're going to have -1. Okay, easiest equation ever. Y is equal to whatever 4 minus 1 is. Oh, that's 3. Okay. So my final solution as an ordered pair, because you don't want to make your teacher look all over the place for your solution. My final solution is going to be 4, 3. Okay. So 4, 3 is the final solution. Okay, and then you don't need to ask me if I'm right or wrong. What you can do is you can just plug this into both equations and make sure it's true. Now, when we solved this equation, we plugged in 4 and got 3 for y. So we don't have to plug it back into the second equation. I would suggest plugging it into the first, though. So just to check it, we'll do 2 times, instead of x, we'll plug in 4. Minus 3y, but instead of y, we'll plug in 3. And that's going to be equal to -1. Okay, so 2 times 4 is 8. -3 times 3 is -9. 8 minus 9 is -1, which is equal to -1. So that is a true statement. So this is the solution. So yay, that works. Okay, so I'm looking, we're about 7 minutes in. I know y'all don't like a super long video, but I do think it's important that I show you more than one example. So the next example is going to get a little bit harder. And so yeah, here's numbering. Okay, example number 2. We have, oh yeah, I'm doing 2 different colors. We have -2x. Oh no, I want to do that for 3. Just kidding. I have -7x minus 2y equals -13. And then I also have x minus 2y equals 11. Dang it, I ain't color code. Oh well. It's getting late. It's way past quitting time, so. Alright. So, this one is not set up pretty like the last one. The last one we did, we had a y equals already, so we could just take this and plug in. We don't have that, so we're going to have to play with this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at both of my equations, and I'm going to look for the easiest variable to get alone. And I would have to say that the x in the second equation is going to be the easiest to get by itself. It doesn't have a coefficient. It doesn't have anything in front of it. It's just x. I had a lot of people say, oh, x is already by itself. It's not by itself. If it were by itself, I could just put in what it's equal to. It has this on the same side. So it's not by itself, but it doesn't have a coefficient, so it'll be the easiest to manipulate. Okay, so I'm going to take this over here. I want x by itself. So the only thing I need to get rid of is this -2/11. So I'm going to add -2y, not 2, I saw the 2 and the 11. Alright, so I'm going to add 2y to both sides. These will cancel. I have x equals 11 plus 2y. And now I have what x is equal to. I have x by itself. And I have x equals some expression. So now that I know what x is equal to, I can take that and plug it in to x right there. Okay. So this would be a good opportunity for you to pause the video and try this on your own. I will continue to work it out, but if you are wanting to make sure you know how to do it, write this problem down, test yourself, see what you can do. Okay, so all I've done so far is replace the x with what x is equal to. So now all I'm going to do is start solving. So to do that, to simplify this as much as possible, you're going to distribute this -7. And -7 times 11 is -77. -7 times 2y is going to be -14y. Then I also have this -2y from earlier. And that's going to equal -13. Okay. So again, combine your like terms. They're on the same side, so you can just combine them. So I have -77. 14y and -2y is going to be -16y. And that's going to equal -13. Okay. Next, I'm going to move this 77 over here. And this is going to give me -16y equals +64. Then we'll divide both sides by -16. And y is going to equal -4. Okay. So then I'm going to take this, and you can plug it into either equation, top or bottom, doesn't matter. Bottom looks a lot easier to me, so I'll plug it in there. And so I've got, let's see, we'll do this in green. I've got x minus 2y, but I know what y is. Y is -4. So x minus 2y equals 11. So I'm going to multiply the -2 and the -4, and I'm going to get x plus 8 equals 11. And we'll subtract the 8 from each side, and we're going to end with x equals 3. So my final answer is 3, -4. Okay. Take a sip of water because I've talked a lot. Okay. Got one more substitution problem I'm going to do. This is the most difficult, that's why I'm doing it last. So, you flip over. Actually, fresh, clean sheet of paper. Let's do that. Alright, last set. Last problem. We're going to do, this is, again, the most difficult, saved it for last. We've got -2x plus 6y equals 6. And then we have x minus 2y equals 11. Okay, so I need to get x by itself, I need to get y by itself, I need to do, wait a minute, that's not the right equation. Oh my goodness. I may not film all the videos tonight. Miss Gallant may go home because apparently she's too tired to do this. Sorry, the correct equation is -7x plus 8y equals -5. Okay, here's my system. Here's my correct system. Okay, if you notice, just like the last problem, I don't have a variable by itself, so I don't have x equals or y equals. But unlike last time, both variables, or all 4 variables, everything has a coefficient. There's a number with everything. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Typically, if I were to see it set up like this, my first thought would be do elimination. But it did ask for substitution. on the quiz, if it asks for substitution and you use elimination, you don't get points because it does ask for that you know that method. And I know that sounds like mean and hateful, but that's how they would score you on the EOC. And I don't want to give you points here and make you think it's okay to do it, and then you do it on the EOC and you get a 0 and then you're mad at me for that. So yeah, I'd rather be the butthole now than be the butthole later. So there we go. All right, so looking at this, I need to figure out what the easiest variable to get by itself is. So let's take a look at the green. We have a 7x and an 8y. So if I know, what I know is that if I have a variable or a coefficient beside a variable, I'm going to have to divide to get rid of it. So if I divide these by 7, I'm going to have fractions. If I divide these by 8, I'm going to have fractions. So that sucks. I don't want to do it. So I'm going to look at the pink one. If I look at the y, I have 6. Well, I could divide 6 by 6 and it not be a fraction, but I can't divide 2 by 6 without it being a fraction. So I don't want to get y by itself. So if I look at x, it has a -2. I can divide both of my 6's by -2 and have whole numbers. So we're going to try to get this x by itself. Sometimes it is unavoidable. There was one I was working on today that there was no way to solve it without having a fraction. Just no way. It wasn't possible. So it had a fraction. I ended up quitting, not because it was hard, because I ran out of room and the space to do it. This was not in class, by the way. This was just on my own for fun. Let that sink in for a minute. But yeah, there wasn't enough room on the page and I got irritated and I threw it away. But it did have a fraction, and it wasn't a terrible fraction, but like I know 50% of my class would have been like walking out the door at that point. So we're not going to mess with that. So here, we're trying to avoid fractions, basically, is what I'm trying to get to. It's not, sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes you have to deal with a fraction, but in this case, we don't have to. So yay. All right, so I need to get x by itself. So I'm going to rewrite it over here, give myself some room. Okay, so if I'm trying to get x by itself, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to try to get rid of this 6y and get it to the other side. So I'll subtract 6y from each side, and that will give me -2x equals 6 minus 6y. Okay, the only other thing I need to get rid of is that -2, so we'll divide everything by -2. These cancel, and I have x equals -3 plus 3y. I had to think. So 6 divided by -2 is -3. -6 divided by -2 is +3. So we have what x equals. We're going to take it and plug it into the green equation. We'll plug it in for x here, so we'll plug it in right here. Okay, so over here, I've got -6 instead of x. I'm going to plug in -3 plus 3y, because that's what x is equal to. Then plus 8y equals -5. Okay, distribute the -7. -7 times -3 is going to be +21. -7 times +3 is going to be -21y. Then we have this plus 8y equals -5. All right, so I'm going to combine like terms. I've got 21y and 8y. That's a -21y. So I'm going to bring down that 21. -21 plus 8 should be -13y. This is going to equal -5. Okay, I'm going to move this 21 over. I'm going to subtract 21 from each side. These will cancel. And I've got, screw it, -13y equals -26. And divide both sides by negative 13. Y equals positive 2. Whew! Now I gotta get x. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to plug it into one of these two equations. You could plug it in here, but I'm always paranoid that I've screwed something up, so I always go back to the original. So, of course, if I screwed something up here, then it wouldn't matter anyway, but we're just going to plug it into the original. I'm weird about that. So we have negative 2x plus 6y, but instead of y, I got 2. And that's going to be equal to 6. All right, so I'm going to bring everything down. Negative 2x plus, well, 6 times 2 is 12 equals 6. So negative 2x plus 12 equals 6. Let's subtract that 12. Negative 2x equals negative 6. Divide by negative 2. And x equals positive 3. So final answer as an ordered pair is 3, 2. All right, and you could check it, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, we're at 21.5 minutes of video. I'm tired. I'm pretty sure after watching this video, we're all tired. So I'm going to end it here. I'm going to make myself a cup of coffee, and then I'll start on the elimination video. Hope you are, let me feel like a YouTuber for a second. I hope you're enjoying this series on systems of equations. Please like and subscribe if you would like to see more content like this. In all seriousness though, I hope that the videos are helpful, and we'll move on to elimination in a little bit. So keep working on studying, keep watching the videos, or if you're just picking this one because this is the one you need the most help with, congratulations, you should be an expert now. All right, thank y'all so much for actually watching these. It really does make me feel like what I'm doing is not wasting my time. So y'all have a good evening. Sorry I took 22 minutes on this video. Y'all have a good evening.